So here we are on Kings Meadow, where it all started for Reading Football Club back in, I think it was the 22nd of February 1872, just a few months after the club formed itself on Christmas Day in a meeting room on Gun Street, right next to where the Purple Turtle is now. And then the first game, which was played against Reading School. It was a 0-0 draw, and as you can see from the landscape where we are here, it's a very flat surface. Of course, the rules were all very, very different in those days. No referee, 13 players, a huge pitch, no crossbars, all sorts that you could catch the ball, all sorts of different rules that have evolved over the years. So this was land that the football club could freely get organised and play their opening fixtures on. And 150 years later, at Reading Museum, we had a chance to work with the Reading Football Club and its communities. So what we'll do is we'll just pop over and have a look at that exhibition, shall we? Follow me. Right, so yeah, well, we opened the exhibition in February this year, 150 years to the day after Reading played their first ever football match against Reading School. A 0-0 draw. Reading started their days back in the late 19th century as an amateur club, and there's a number of archives and items that survive from that time. One particularly interesting item that came to us is a minute book that dates back all the way to 1876, and the pages of this that reveal that by about 1895, when the club was turning professional, talk was already underway about acquiring land in West Reading for use as a new football ground. That hadn't happened yet, so the minute book finishes before Reading turns professional and moves to what became its home for 150 years, Elm Park, 103 years, sorry, Elm Park. But there's another little interesting item here is a very, very early professional football contract. It's the earliest one known in existence, and it's attached to a player from Reading Football Club. I think all aspiring footballers dream of signing a professional football contract. So here we have the world's very earliest professional football club contract, as we know. And it is attached to that moment where things change for Reading Football Club. Over here we have a poster of the next stage in Reading Football Club's history, which is the opening of Elm Park. Absolute unique piece of archive and a real boost to the exhibition when we were able to negotiate the loan. So that's a very special moment to come along and see the Elm Park poster there. So in developing the exhibition, we worked with, as I say, the Society of Collectors and Historians, together with the Supporters Trust at Reading, and we devised the exhibition with a chronological scheme in order, we hope, to make it easy for people to follow around or to dip in and out of particular areas that they're interested in. So after a period of developing from an amateur club into a professional club, Reading achieved a level of national fame where they were appearing against big clubs in cup competitions. Some of those matches were televised, and this was before they developed further in the period after the First World War, which we've called the Biscuit Men, right up to the year 1976, when biscuit production, Huntley and Palmer biscuit production, stopped and Reading changed its nickname to the Royals, which we're known as today. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the Biscuit Men, actually, if you come over here. Yeah, so in the 1926-27 season, Reading were fielding a very, very strong side and competing in the second tier of the Football League. They actually reached, for the very first time, the semi-final of the FA Cup. And there was tremendous interest and excitement around the town. So much so that the directors of Huntley and Palmer's, the biscuit factory, decided that they would produce these replica FA Cup tins thinking that Reading would make it all the way to the final and perhaps even lift the actual trophy itself. So we believe in a region of 600 of the smaller miniature tins were made, and then just a very few of the large tins. The Biscuit Company also gave fans of the club travelling to the game at Molineux, the semi-final at Molineux, a little favour which consists of a little strip and a vanity mirror, and it lists all of the teams that Reading had beaten on the way to the semi-final, including the mighty Manchester United and a top flight side Portsmouth. They overcame Swansea in the quarter-final and were matched against Cardiff in the semi-final, the other Welsh club. Cardiff, of course, won and went on to win the FA Cup, the first time the FA Trophy was taken outside of England by a Welsh club. So lots of little bits of history in there for football historians. But the story of the tin is rather wonderful because, of course, when Reading was knocked out of the Cup, the tins didn't go into full production and only the prototype tins remain. So this larger tin, which was only produced in a very small number, is actually probably the rarest and most sought after of Huntley and Palmer tins for Huntley and Palmer tin collectors. And of course our gallery here, if you get a chance to visit, is just full of the main collection of Huntley and Palmer tins. And this privately owned tin is a wonderful addition to have in the exhibition to tell the story of the Biscuit Men era in Reading Football Club's history. So eagle-eyed visitors to the exhibition will spot this lineup here, which is unusual because instead of a group of young men forming the team, this is actually a group of young ladies. Right back in the year 1921, they'd just played a game against Swindon ladies at Elm Park in front of a crowd of 8,000. It's actually in 1921, the same year, that the FA decided to impose a ban on women's teams playing on registered Football League, Football Association clubs' grounds. So that effectively brought the curtain down on ladies' football right up until the year 1971. You can see that 50-year gap obviously would have had an impact on the development of the ladies' game. So since 1971, when that restriction was lifted, the club has gone from strength to strength and has got the women's team has got a history of its own, including, of course, the wonderful Fran Kirby, who is spearheading the current campaign in Europe to lift the European Championship with England. So we have an England international, and there was a lot of very good players in this era here in 1920, a number of representative players as well. So right next door to this image of the ladies team, towards the end of the Biscuit Men era, in the sort of mid-70s, is a picture here which we called history maker Andy Lane, because Andy was actually the first person of colour to play professional football for Reading, and there were great jubilations, I understand, amongst the Caribbean community when he was finally given the nod to make his professional debut. Andy had his struggles. He had been released by Reading Football Club and was languishing in sort of non-league football when a caretaker manager, Jimmy Wallbanks, who had recognised his abilities, brought him back into the fold, and he made his professional debut, scoring a wonder goal from the halfway line, in fact. So a goal-scoring professional debut for Reading's first black player, Andy Elaine, and an inspiration to those that have followed. Andy Elaine was, of course, a friend and a great teammate of the legendary Robin Friday, who had the best part of 3 seasons with Reading Football Club and has become a legendary figure in the game because he was an awesomely talented player. lifestyle problems off the pitch and so forth would have spoilt his chances of achieving sort of where he might have gone in the game. But his family were very kindly helping us and got involved in it, and one of the things is that they always fondly remember about Robin Friday was how the fans used to chant his name and say, "Robin Friday walks on water," because apparently he used to perform miracles on the football pitch. Certainly he was a very, very hard-working player on the pitch and just used his talents to turn players inside out. All these years later, it is the football that he's remembered for more than anything. And it's great to have these fragments of Robin Friday's history on show, including a shirt, it was a shirt that he adopted as a training shirt, but he wore it in one game, number 11 shirt. And then the transfer listing that when Reading lost him to Cardiff. I think his greatness as a player sort of is reflected in the fact that he's sort of singled out as a footballer within this exhibition over 150 years of tremendous players that have played, but his story looms large, as I say. So it's wonderful to have these little fragments here, especially this little one, this little relic over here, because after the game at Cambridge, when Reading won promotion, Robin threw his shirt into the crowd and someone grabbed it, and on the way back this entrepreneurial fan thought, right, well I'll cut this up into strips. So that little strip of Robin Friday's shirt was 50p, and I think it was £1 for a larger piece, but we've only got the little fragment on display, which was really generously lent to us by a private collector. So I think we're already running out of time here, but as you can see behind me, when we move into the sort of more modern era of Reading Football Club, there's so many tremendous different stories taking us through a period of triumph and turmoil where Reading was subject to a hostile takeover bid. They lifted the Simod Cup at Wembley, and then moved on to their new ground, moving from Elm Park to the Medeski Stadium. And of course the glory years then in the modern era when Reading made it all the way to the top flight of English football for the very first time in its history, with an all-conquering 106 points, lifting the championship trophy. So I just wanted to show you just one or two little bits, well, squeeze it in whilst we've got the time, of the favourite items that I have personally in this second half of the exhibition. And I'd just encourage you again, don't forget, we close this exhibition on Saturday the 13th of August, so do come along and make the most of this chance to experience this unique story. Yeah, so alongside imagery of the playoff final in 2005 when Reading made it to Wembley, the all-conquering Simod Cup final victory, there's some more detail about the era before the very modern era when success came to Reading, or top flight success came to Reading. And amongst the players that performed for Reading was Laurie Sanchez. And Laurie was kind enough to lend us some of his own private personal possessions from his time with Reading Football Club. And amongst them is the plaque that he won playing for Reading when we won the 4th Division Championship. Speaking of hard-won football trophies and medals, undoubtedly the hardest won medals in this exhibition are two that are placed in this cabinet here. Sir John Medeski was kind enough to lend us material from his own personal collection to share with the public, including the two medals that he was awarded as the chairman of Reading Football Club when they won the Football League Championship in 2005-2006 and 2011-2012. And what I mean by hard won is that as well as the huge investment of money and man hours and time that Sir John invested in the club, was just the sort of passion and the leadership that Sir John introduced into the club, moving it from a club that was languishing in the 3rd and 4th division, developing a new football stadium and complex that was the arena and the platform for the team under the stewardship of some great managers to achieve the success and the stability that was needed for them to reach the holy promised land of top flight football, which they enjoyed for a number of seasons, and at the moment obviously fighting hard to be competitive in the championship. Yeah, so as we look back over 150 years of Reading Football Club's history, we're now entering a new chapter and the beginning of a new football season. On behalf of Reading Museums, part of Reading Borough Council, I'd just like to wish Reading Football Club all the best for the new term, onto new bigger success, and come on you Royals!